Did you see the news? Those 3 junior students killed someone and buried body. How is fair they can avoid serious punishment just because they're under 14? In some countries like US, they might already be tried as adults for something this serious.
I get you why you are angry, but China's role on protection of minors says specific rule for criminal responsibility for minors under 14. The law focuses more on education and correction rather than punishment. It's a different philosophy.
Correction, they kill someone. In the US, for example, minors involved in murder can be tried in adult court. Doesn't send a stronger message and protect society better.
It's true that Western countries like the US or UK might handle such cases differently. In the US, some states allow kids as young as 12 to be treated as adults for violent crimes. But in China, the approach is more about rehabilitation and preventing future harm. It's a legal and cultural difference.
But rehabilitation doesn't always work for such serious crimes. What about the victim's family? In Western systems, the focus often links more on justice for victims and deterrence.
I understand that concern, but China emphasizes social harmony and the potential to reform young offenders. Maybe we need to think about finding a middle ground, stronger legal deterrence while still focusing on rehabilitation for minors.
You may have a point, but I still think the law needs to evolve. Maybe China can learn from Western countries that use stricter message to send a clear message about such heinous acts.
Maybe this case will push for legislative change. At the same time, families, schools, and society must work together to prevent this from happening again.
Hello, dear friends. Today, our topic is school bullying and its legal and social responses. Bullying, legally defined, is a repetitive and intentional pattern of harm within a power imbalance context. Its forms vary, including physical, verbal, relational, and cyber. Globally, bullying legislation diverges. In the US, definitions vary by states but stress elements like intention and power disparity, spotlighting cyber and campus bullying. Japan's 2013 law targets acts causing peer suffering. Sweden classifies it as harassment under education laws. China lacks a specific law, yet relevant laws address school bullying with a definition relying on school handling. Cultural relativism is vividly reflected. Western nations, anchored in individualism, define bullying precisely to safeguard victims' rights. Their judgments severely punish perpetrators. In contrast, in China and some Asian countries, the focus is on social harmony. Definitions are less explicit, and mediation and education prevail. For example, in a US case, severe penalties followed a tragic bullying-induced suicide. In a Chinese case, the minor perpetrator received school disciplines and psychological education instead of criminal charges. Cultural relativism molds bullying's legal definition, judgment, and social reaction. Crafting global anti-bullying policies demands a delicate balance between universal standards and cultural diversity. Thank you for your listening. Now please welcome Wang Mingxiong.
Next, I will explore the legal difference and social response to bullying in the context of cultural relativism. Let's think about what the role of legal standards is in protecting vulnerable groups in the United States. What is the unique aspect of this strict definition of law? In the United States, we emphasize the universalities and the strictness of law, especially in protecting vulnerable groups such as minors, women, and minority groups. We believe that clear legal definition and severe punishments can act as a deterrent and make it clear what behaviors are absolutely unaccessible. This approach may seem cold, but it is effective in maintaining social justice. In contrast, Chinese law places a great emphasis on the protection of minors, but in practice it emphasizes the restorative justice. For example, when minors are harmed, we usually prioritize resolving the issue through conditions among schools, family, and community. The intentions of this approach is to avoid its equality conflicts and allow the parties involved to rebuild their relations through education and reflection. Of course, this does not mean that the law is not serious. Rather, it effaces social responsibilities beyond the law. In social reaction, Western societies have a strong public security culture and the media and public effects to exert pressures to push for legal sanctions and institutional reform when certain events involving vulnerable groups are exposed. This is because we have a very strong public security culture, and the media and public expect to exert pressures to push for legal sanctions and institutional reform. This public security environment can sometimes accelerate the justical process, but it may also complicate individual cases. In Eastern cultures, especially in China, societies tend to keep problems within a smaller corpus to resolve them. For example, schools, families, and communities are often considered the first line of defense in dealing with justice issues, and the law is used more as a last resort. The advantage of this approach is to reduce the publications of events from causing a secondary harm to the parties involved, but it may also be criticized as being less transparent.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are honored to have Professor Chen, an expert in the field of bullying. So how do you do, Professor Chen?
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Just now we heard two students arguing about different sentencing methods for a bullying case. So what do you think about the way bullying is handled in different cultures?
Cultural differences greatly influence how school bullying is addressed. In Western culture, there is a stronger focus on protecting individual rights, with clear legal definition and strict consequences. Meanwhile, in Eastern culture, the emphasis is on maintaining the social harmony with a tendency to resolve issues through education and mediation. These differences reflect the unique value of each culture. For instance, in the United States, bullying is considered a serious legal violation with well-different protection for victims and penalties for offenders. In Japan, while law exists, the approaches often leads toward resolving problems within school and families, which avoiding unnecessary escalation.
Yes, we do find significant differences in how the same cases is handled in Eastern and Western cultures. So how do you balance these two approaches?
Well, I think the key is finding a middle ground. We need to protect the victim's rights and make sure they get help and support. At the same time, bullies should also be given a chance to change through education and counseling to help them realize their mistake. We should also focus on family and school education to raise student awareness of morality and responsibility. For example, we can create a solid legal system, get every authority involved such as school, family, or communities. Third, we should provide education and training. Four, we can offer mental health support. Fifth, we can adapt approaches based on cultural differences.
The measures you mentioned are very significant and practical. Finally, do you have any advice for our students, parents, and school administrators?
First, for students, it's important to develop correct value, learn to respect others, and speak out bravely to seek help when encountering bullying. Second, parents need to pay close attention to your child's mental state, identify and address problems properly, and maintain good communication with the school. Finally, for school administration, establish a comprehensive anti-bullying system, strengthen education and training for both teacher and student, and create a safe and harmonious school environment.
Thank you very much for your wonderful sharing, Professor Chen. Your suggestions are very enlightening to us. Hopefully, each of us can contribute to creating a bullying-free campus environment.
Thank you. Let us create a better environment for children to grow up.
Professor James was deeply inspired me. We cannot simply shift the blame to external factors, such as schools and the law. The lack of family education and the student's own psychological problem may become the inducement of couples bullying. I remember when I was a child, once because of bad grades or ridiculous by classmates. That helpless and lonely feeling is still unforgettable. I know more about the pain of the victim.
I totally agree with him. Parents play a vital role in a child's development. They should pay more attention to the child's psychological states, kindly tell the child's mood swings, and conduct in-depth communication with the child. I remember a time when a friend of mine was afraid to go to school because he was being bullied. His parents found out in time and stepped in. Through family counseling and school communication, they eventually helped him get out of the shadows.
I think that as fellow students, mutual help and support between us are equally important. Sometimes a simple word of comfort or one hug can bring great strength to the victim. I remember once I saw a classmate being bullied on the playground. I immediately stayed up to spot it and reported to the teacher. Even though I was scared, I know I did the right thing.
In addition to individual effort, we can also work as a team to prevent and address bullying at school. For example, we can set up a campus anti-bullying group and hold regular lecture, trainings, and activities to improve students' legal awareness and moral standard. At the same time, we can also work with the school to develop a more comprehensive campus safety system to ensure the safety of every student.
Right. We can also use social media and school radio channels to promote anti-bullying ideas and cases. Through sharing successful experiences and touching stories, we can inspire students' empathy and action. I believe that as long as we do our part, school bullying will gradually decrease until it disappears.
Yes, bullying is a complex social problem, but as long as each of us is aware of our responsibilities and take action, we can create a safe, harmonious, and loving campus environment. Let's work together to exhort the healthy growth of every child. School bullying is a complex social problem that requires the joint effort of all of us. I hope that through today's discussion, we can better understand the root causes and solution of campus bullying. Let's work together to create a safe and harmonious campus environment.
Say no to school bullying. Embrace cultural diversity.